Hi there, Christopher here with episode 1.5 of Project Snail Mail, where I teach the basics of building and designing high-power rockets. So I'm going to call this episode 1.5 because it won't be a full episode on its own. I'm just going to go over AutoCADing some of the stuff that I'm going to be printing for this rocket. So I'm going to be printing a nose cone and coupler, and then I'm also printing a separate nose cone for a totally different rocket. And although I already have printed the coupler, I can at least show how I'm going to be designing the two nose cones. Now, I've already done this several times and printed out those nose cones, but every single time there's been a problem where it's been wrong dimensions or something like that, and you're probably going to have that when designing this type of stuff. And that's why it's really all it comes down to is iterative design. So I have Fusion 360 loaded up here, and the first thing when building any object is you want to create a sketch. So in this case I've created a sidelong sketch, and I have my calipers here off screen. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first go down to line, and I'm going to make a line coming out 1.5 inches. Now you may be asking why I decided on those dimensions, and that is for the sheer fact that the inside diameter of the snail mail rocket is going to be 3 inches, and so I'm making half of that nose cone so I can eventually revolve it around. So from there I'm just going to go up to around 1 inch looks good, and then I'm going to actually want to type this one out, 0.3 inches. So from here we've created our shoulder. So you can see that this is the part that will fit inside our rocket. So from there I'm going to quickly open up Open Rocket, just so I can make sure on the length of the nose cone. So I'm going to wait for that to load up. It'll load up. I'll hit Control O and Postal Rocket Mark 1. So from here I can select the design of the nose cone, and I can see that the length is going to be this length in inches. Now I could probably switch the defaults on Fusion 360 so that it would be in centimeters, but I'm a little bit too lazy to do that right now. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to create a line going from here inwards. I'm going to hit the select button, and I'm going to say that is a construction line. So from here I can hit make another line, and let's see, I'm going to actually start that over, and I'm going to hit select, dimension, and now I can modify this. So I'm going to hit Control V, inches, and now we have this kind of shape. So from here, to create kind of the outline of the nose cone, since I have something called an ogive nose cone, I'm going to create an arc between those 2 points and just kind of make it look good. Something like around, that looks about good. Okay, from here I can go back to select that line, and we won't need it anymore. So I'm going to create another line just connecting these two up, and you'll notice that the shape just turned a slightly different color. That is because this whole shape is now one shape instead of just a connected piece of line. From here we can go to Create, Revolve, select the shape, and select the axis, which is why I actually built that line. Hit OK, and now we have a perfectly dimensioned nose cone. So this hopefully should work. So in order to get this into a 3D printable format, I first have to check something. So this is solid right now. I actually forgot about that. And what I have to do is hit shell. So I decided on a dimension beforehand of 0.125 inches, and that'll be pretty thin but still work. So from here I can go to wonderful Google, can go to the maker services. I can find it, maker space ASU. This is going to be the service that I'm using to print this nose cone, and they allow me to get free filament, so that's why I'm using it. I'm going to quickly open up their page, and that is to ensure that I can fit this nose cone where I want it to. So if I go to their 3D printing, it should be able to tell me some stuff about it. Let's see. Okay, so it's not going to list it on their page, but I do happen to know that the kind of printer that they have is a MakerBot. And so I can look through the MakerBot images and find something that looks about good. I'd say they probably have something like a replicator, maybe? Let's see. Yeah, I'd say that they have a replicator. So I can go back to here, go to 3D printers on MakerBot's website. Yeah, they definitely have a replicator. Okay. So what is it? Let's see. Yada yada yada. It's gonna load some stuff up. No, I don't want to buy any of it. Let's see. MakerBot replicator. There we go. Now somewhere in here, it should give me a print volume. Okay. Build volume. 11 by 7.5 by 6 inches. Now, I happen to know that the printers, I would probably trust them to go up to 9 inches. So what I'm going to do here is I'm first going to measure, using the measure tool, all the way up to that point. So that length is around 9.425. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have an offset plane down at the bottom here, and I'm just going to drag that up to around halfway. Hit OK. Hit modify. Hit split body along this plane. Hit OK. And so now I've basically cut my nose cone in half. What I can do now is I can select this, hit move/copy, and bring it down. And I'm actually getting a pretty darn weird glitch, so I'm going to hit cancel. I'm going to highlight it, hopefully, and I'm going to try to move it from here. Okay, let's see what it's doing. I'm going to deselect that, and now it's working. Okay. Now I've split this nose cone in half. What I can do now is just delete that plane. Hit Control Z because I actually do want that plane, because otherwise it'll break stuff. And now I have this nose cone in a printable format. Now the great thing about OGIV nose cones is that this can print without any support material. Support material for 3D printing is when you have an overhang of a certain angle, it has to build up a removable material to support that overhang for the build process that can be removed later. Now, in theory, in a perfect world, you could just have the support materials have no effect on the 3D print itself, but in the real world, that doesn't happen, so you usually want to go with a design that orients so there is little to no support material. And that's what this does. The only support material will be for this overhang right here, and that's a non-crucial dimension to the part. So until next time, this has been Project Snail Mail episode 1.5.